everyone, it's Morgan and I'm here with Cary here from Kenro. So we are going to do a quick little interview about some of the special things Kenro brought for our 2nd year anniversary, and we'll get to know Kenro and what they do a little bit more. Do you have a quick overview of what Kenro does?
Sure. So Kenro Industries, we're located in New York. We've been around, this is our 29th year. We'll be going into our 30th very soon, so we're excited about that. We've worked with many brands as a distributor throughout those years. We had Omas for a long time, which was, everybody knows that brand, and they went out. But we always kind of curate other brands that fit into our portfolio, if you will. That sounds so corporate, but that's kind of like the overview. The rest will be casual. So the brands that we carry are Aurora, Montegrappa, Farina, Y Studio, and now Autohut. And those are the brands that we distribute through North America. Esterbrook is a brand that we actually purchased. So we own that brand, and we get to make all the deciding factors like design and colors, and, from end to end. So that's been, a good adventure for us.
Yeah.
And we kind of took the skill set that we gained by being a distributor for so long. And what we do different, I feel, as a distributor, is that we go to a lot of pen shows. We do pen shows, we do trunk shows at stores like we are here at Truphae. And we've done that for many, 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 many years. And we get into the community, listen to, what the people that are actually using the pens want, and what makes them tick, and what excites them, what makes them want to purchase that pen and have it be a part of their, and ultimately, a lot of times, part of their heritage. It's something they'll buy a pen thinking I'm going to pass this on to the small one that's sitting next to them and anxiously trying to get out and get ice cream. But having that kind of knowledge really has paid off for us, and helped us to really develop pens, because we don't just, like Esterbrook, we own, but we develop special pens with each manufacturer. With like Montegrappa, we have exclusives that we make just for North America, because we know the environment here, we know what the community is looking for. We've done it with Aurora, we've done it even with Autohut already, and we've only had Autohut less than a year.
Wow.
So it's an exciting ride.
So what does that process look like from the start of an idea to production, marketing the pen, and then getting it out into the customer's hands?
When we do it as a distributor, it's different, because when we curate something from Montegrappa, we did the 10 Commandments, and that was an idea that we had because they had the Kai pen and the Shema pen, and they did very well. And when they ran out, because Montegrappa stopped making that body style, we felt like there was a void, and people kept asking for it. So we worked with Montegrappa, with Giuseppe, who owns it, and he's very receptive to us. We speak to him, quite frequently. But we came up with an idea, we came up with a design. His team took our ideas and got things in motion, got us samples of how it could look and how it would look, including a limited edition that we've done. But that whole process takes several months, and it can go quickly and it can go slowly. I mean, it depends. If you do something in July, well, Italy slows down in August to take holiday for a few weeks, which is very nice, good for them. But normally it takes, I would say, 3 months.
Yeah.
And we can usually get a sample that we've approved and decided we're going to put it to market. The marketing part of it is different, and that's where, that's why everyone in our office wears different hats all the time. And like Brian Holzer, who's our vice president, he does the marketing.
Okay.
So he will take that sample and he will send it out to have it photographed through influencers. I'll send it out to our guy to have the silhouettes done. I'll send out to different bloggers and people we feel will fit the niche and hit the market where we want it to hit. So it's like an influx of that, but it's a constant balance that we're doing.
Right.
And when the pen comes in, we let everybody go, and we let the retailers know what's going on. And as you know, we'll send you a link and say, here are all your images, and here are all bloggers who are going to be talking about it. And if it's going to be, put in Pen World or the Pen Addict or whoever may be out there that's pushing, to that right audience. And then we go from there. And then we'll have a release date, and then it comes out, and we call it breaking the internet. So we try and break the internet where that's all everybody sees for the weekend.
All over.
Yeah. And then we wait for the reaction, and we always hope that everything we learned by being in person and talking to the community, not just the retailers. You know, we don't want to just sell to a retailer. Our idea is not that. That is not the end game. If a retailer buys it, that's great. But if they don't sell it, that's terrible.
Right.
So we want to make sure that the consumer is getting what they really want, so that they go to the retailer. So we're happy, the retailer's happy, the consumer's happy. You know, it makes that family circle kind of work.
Right. So it sounds like there's probably a lot of research that goes in behind it. Kind of, you got to know the market and your customers a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like from Kenro's point of view.
From us, from knowing what the customer really wants, is a lot of talking.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're at the pen shows, it's not just pen shows. We go trunk shows and pen meets, because we do a lot of pen meetups too. Like when I'll do a trunk show at another retailer, say that might be in DC.
Yeah.
We're at Truphae, so we want to keep it PC with that. But I'll hang out with the DC pen crew. So I'll do the show at the store, and then they always get together, and I always make sure that we have stuff, to giveaways, but it's to interact with them to find out what they have and what they like. It doesn't matter what brand it is to us. Like, we're not, these are our brands, and we never discuss anything else. We discuss with them, what do you like about that brand? What is it that you like the nib, you like the clip, or you like the color, you like the feel of it, the texture of it. I mean, there's so much when it comes to writing that's personal, and finding out you can't hit that little microcosm, if you will, of perfection,
right?
Because it's different for everybody. So you have to kind of take all that in and then decide, all right, how do we hit that 75% mark? How do you get 75% of what they want, at least, and then bring it to market? And having a story behind it. I mean, we have people that write for us, and these are people that are in our community, so we have known them for a long time, and we talk with them, and we're like, this is the story we want to convey. Like the 10 Commandments, what's the story behind it? And it was getting to somebody that, because we're not writers, there's only 7 of us there, so we can't do everything, but we spread out and find people to work with us that really help us engage in the community in the right way. So having a story written that makes sense and reads true and reads well, has depth, but is still our story, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the pen marketable.
Right. I think being new to the pen world, everything that you've brought here today, this weekend, has been so immaculate. Everything has a background to it, and so it's more than just a pen to the people that have stopped in this weekend. So I think that is tremendous. You guys have the story behind it. You have writers, people that are going out and figuring out what people want. So I think that's awesome. Is there anything that you think is coming up for some of these brands, or anything that you're excited about seeing from some of the brands?
There are. I'm trying to think of things. As you said it, I'm like, what can I talk about? So there are things coming up.
A little sneak peek.
There is. Well, let's see. For Aurora, there is a new one, and people do know about it now. It's the Blue Mamba. There was a Black Mamba, which is based on the '88 model, and it's engraved throughout. I mean, it's pristine engraving. It's beautiful. So then they did a blue one, which was our idea, and it's coming out, and it's blue, okay, but the nib and all the metal trim is done in PVD blue as well.
Oh, wow.
So it's very different, very special. It's limited to 888, and so that was like kind of working with with a brand that we represent to get it out there, and it's really something, and it's actually arriving in the States on Monday.
That's exciting.
So everybody can order, and we definitely got the lion's share, being our idea and everything like that. We were able to have that opportunity. So that's really cool to come out, and it's very, very exciting. That's Aurora. Montegrappa just released a few things that I brought with me, like the limited edition Harry Potter. I mean, these are pens that are obviously more collectible, and they're very expensive. The one that's sitting here, this was crazy. This is the, and we have this on the Instagram and everywhere, the Chichiko, which is Montegrappa worked with the oldest Urushi family, basically, in Japan. They've been around since 1642, quote me, but it's 1640 something that did this work. I mean, it's generational, and these pens are phenomenal. And he finds ways, Giuseppe at Montegrappa, to do collaborations like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not always just with the like Harry Potter or Game of Thrones and things like that. I mean, they're famous for that. The new F1 pen, which was licensed through the F1 branding.
Uh-huh.
I mean, these are things that are very difficult and time consuming. Those I don't know the timeline on, and I cannot imagine having to go to Marvel or whoever and say, here's our pen, and they say, no, we don't like it, do it again, and you bring it back over and over. So, but the creative factor with Montegrappa being able to do things like this is amazing. I mean, they have artisans in their factory that do hand painting on one-off pieces.
Mm-hmm.
They have people that do casting in silver and old school silversmithing in-house. So it's really phenomenal. With Esterbrook, there are things coming out. Obviously, we released the new colors for the J. There may be another one coming out for a particular holiday.
Seem to be a hit this summer.
That's certainly in the works. This is obviously the Gold Rush. We did an edition. The Sparkle was our first jump with Mackenzie Penworks, which is the diamond cast material. So we had 3 colors come out, and we're always working to find new colors, not just colors, but new combinations, and pushing the boundaries, you know, with the people that make materials for us. So there may be another one of those coming out. And there's for sure other colors that are base colors, like we did the sea glass, which replaced our old green. So sea glass is now our new green. We do have other colors coming out that will be baseline, and it won't be that rush that you have to have it because it's going to sell out like the maraschino or the aqua. These are colors that we feel are very everyday use, but still they have a level of complexity to them that are a little bit more mature. And so we're excited about that. Auto Hut we're excited because these we just got. This was a design 07. So like I said, when we got this brand, just about a year ago, they had an 07, and it was all sterling silver, and it was beautiful. And the thing was that it was made out of a solid ounce of silver. They started with 1 solid ounce of silver and made the pen. So we wanted to do a different kind of design because they have so much that they do in-house. Everything is under one roof. I mean, all the plating, all of the metalwork. They take raw gold, raw silver, raw platinum.
You just start with that.
And they start with that and manufacture. So we asked them about doing like a barley corn kind of finish on these. And again, all these you can see in detail on Instagram. And we wanted barley corn. We were like, can we do different, color tones so that it can stand out a little bit more? And Auto Hut was a company, because it's such a big factory and they've been in business for 100 years manufacturing parts for other companies. They had this prototype for us in 3 weeks.
Oh, they were prepared.
So it was amazing how quickly they could take our concept and develop it into an actual physical pen. So we brought this to market, and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's a great pen. It's heavy, not too heavy, but it's got weight to it because it's again made of solid ounce silver. I mean, it's just beautiful, and you can let it patina or you can polish it and keep it pristine. So we have fun with that. The last new thing, Y Studio has a new classic series fountain pen coming out, and Y Studio is out of Taipei. They do not consistently add products. Like, their product line is very defined. They're very minimalistic. Everything is brass or copper, and so they have it's not rigid. It's just a very mindset determination on how they want their products to look. So when you see it on someone's desk, like if you see a minimalist desk, you will see their ruler, their tape dispenser, which is just a beautiful brass piece, but very simple, but heavy. There's no weight to it.
Right.
But anyway, so they're coming out with the classic, and they are coming in colors.
Ooh.
So it's going to be a dark green, a dark red, a dark blue. There'll be a solid brass one, of course, and it's going to have like copper ends on that particular one. And those are coming out in the next couple of weeks. So those we're excited about because like I said, they don't come out with new stuff. We've had them for just about 2 years. So while the line is amazing and sells really well, because I know in America it was difficult to get the brand for a long time, people are excited about that. A lot of retailers have ordered up, waiting for that release.
Yeah, lots of new things coming
Yeah.
up. Sounds like you have a lot of knowledge about all of the pens, all the brands that you guys represent. How did you get involved in fountain pens to begin with?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you all the short story because it could be really long and drawn out. So back in the day, back in like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make it quick, so if you guys want to replay it because I talk too fast from New York. So back in the day, let's say 2010, life was crazy in New York, where I come from, and you try and calm down. And I just found I was surfing online, and there were straight razors, like straight razor shape, like that big giant blade. So I started that, and I got into it a little bit. And on the forum, of course, because when you get into something, you find the forum where everyone talks about what you want to talk about. So I'm on Blade and Badger, which is a straight razor forum. And there was a buy, it was only like 3 months into it, and there was a buy in there for a pen, for a fountain pen. And it was through Edison Pen Company. And the Edison Pen Company, Brian Gray, was making a pen, and he was engraving it for Blade and Badger. And he was making 100 of them, and everybody could get them. And I was like, would they have a rollable? Or ballpoint? Or... And I was just, but I was intrigued simply because it was something special for our group.
Yeah.
And I'm reading, and the thread's getting longer and longer. So then I'm like, all right, maybe I'll try one. So I remember I ordered a fountain pen, and I tried it, and I was like, all right. And they kind of marry to each other. And it's funny because like straight razors, photography, watches, and fountain pen, all that group kind of really, they all overlap each other.
Yeah.
So I got into fountain pens after that, and I was like, wow, okay. And it changes your writing style, and there's so much more to it that I learned that when you write with a fountain pen, and you read more details about people can tell, like somebody who knows how to read someone's writing, how much pressure you used, how fast you were writing. And you can almost you can literally read somebody's mood from their handwriting with a fountain pen, based on stroke and pressure and speed, and there's just so much that goes into it. And so I was like, wow, this is really cool. So then what did I do? I moved into the Fountain Pen Network, where they have fountain pens, and we talked about it for a long time, and I was in it for a year or two. And I just was like, I remember it was National Pencil Day. Oh, so why is that? And I was like, I wonder what Fountain Pen Day is. And I remember I Googled it, and I was like, nothing came up. And I put it in parentheses. And at the time, it was some Japanese band came up, and it was all in Japanese. It had nothing to do with Fountain Pen Day. It was just the way it translated oddly. And so I put on the forum, do we have a day? Is there a Fountain Pen Day? And no. And so there was a group of us, a small group of us got together, and really long story short on that one, I started it, and I got a Twitter account. There was no Instagram back then. I did a Facebook, and then I went and got the domain. And we were all kind of for Fountain Pen Day. 2012. This was like in July of 2012. And started working at it. And listen, everyone has their lives, and everyone kind of fell off. There was like 8 of us there. The kids are going back to school for a couple of people, and this one's moving or whatever. And I ended up being the last person standing. I had already reached out to Fountain Pen Hospital, Goulet, and some of the bigger names out there, and they were all like, it sounds like a good idea. Okay, yeah, we'll try it. And I'm alone, and this thing is going, and these are large companies.
Yeah.
So I just let it go. And I put their logos up on this makeshift website that I had done, talked about it on Fountain Pen Network and Fountain Pen Geeks, and put it out on Twitter, and it just started. So let's just skip all of that. In the interim of that, I got a friend who did a logo, who is now pretty much an untouchable designer, Scott of the Studio Temporary, and he does like logos for government and Atlanta Hawks, and I mean but he still comes back to help out. And like this year we're celebrating the 10th year, and he was very generous in pricing, so he redid all the logos and things like that for the 10-year celebration. So that long story is how I got into fountain pens. And in 2015, the company I was working for 28 years went out, and I was still doing the Fountain Pen Day thing. It was fun, and I thought, I really, really enjoy it. How can I get into that? If I'm going to shift gears and change what I do the second half of my life, what would I want to do? And I started going to the pen shows, and then I went to Fountain Pen Day a couple of times, just to see how it would go. Then I kept going, and I was like, you know what? While I'm at these shows, I will see if I can get a job with somebody. So I started doing interviews literally at the show. So I'm in DC and I'm doing interviews. I'm in, Texas doing interviews, and then I went to Colorado doing interviews. So how did I end up at Kenro? I ended up at Kenro because when I was at the Philadelphia Pen Show earlier that year, this was the year of the big snowstorm. For those that are nerds that are watching and remember the Philadelphia snowstorm, and there was about 100 of us that got trapped in the hotel. Nobody could get in, no one could get out. The town shut down, and Brian was there. Brian Holzer. Neil was there. I can't remember who else was there from Kenro. Ryan might have been there, and I was hosting an after party, and that was kind of something I did. I wanted to engage with people after the show. How do you keep people engaged? Because people are staying at the show for 3 days. Have a party.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a party per se, but you bring your pens, you bring your ink, you bring everything that you bought. That was my thing, and I had the logo and the banner, and everybody would come. So everyone came after the show, and Brian saw it and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Basically, and I told him what the deal was, and he's like, let's do it together. We're Kenro. And then I found out who they were, and we started talking. Had a drink, just a drink, not a drink, but a drink to discuss, and we just hit it off right away. It was just like, wow, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
He was from New York, I'm from New York, we're both from Long Island, and we're both into pens, and he wanted to reach into the community, and I was already reaching in,
Mm-hmm.
and so we hosted the party together. And it was fantastic, and it just turned into something where anytime we were at a show together, we would kind of host. And so a year later, I came home from Colorado, and he knew what was going on. He knew I was kind of looking for a job, and I was in Colorado. Interview went really good, and I was kind of like, what was I going to Colorado? Colorado, okay. And Brian called me up, and the next thing you know, 3 days later, I was there for an interview in the office, and I ended up staying in New York and working for a company of 6 other people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a fantastic ride because I get to work with people that are far smarter than the average bear, but are as common as you can be.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? Nobody is reaching into. We're all reaching for the same goal.
Yeah.
So everyone's moving together, even though we're moving in a million directions every single day. And I get to work with I can say I work with friends
Yeah.
that I consider as close as family,
Good friends. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it's the difference is you have an idea there, and again, whether it's we have Estabrook now, but when I started we didn't. So if you have an idea for Montegrappa, for Aurora, put it out.
Uh-huh.
Every morning we have a meeting, and the meeting is not a meeting as much as it is a discussion. You wake up in the middle of the night and you have a great idea. I think we should do an Optima in green with tangerine trim, whatever it may be.
Bring it to the round table.
Bring it to the round table, and you never know what's going to come out.
Yeah.
And we just do this every single day before we start the day.
So how many years have you been with Kenro?
It's going to be 5 years this October.
5 years? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
second week of October.
Very nice. And so you start your mornings then with this roundtable discussion
Yep.
with everyone, and then what does the rest of your day look like?
The rest of the day is complete chaos, but controlled. So everybody kind of you go from your emails to okay, now we have to ship out, and you pull all the orders, and it doesn't matter who you are, whether it's Brian, whether it's me, whether it's Joel who owns the company.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone pick, pack, and ship.
Okay.
Get the orders together, get them out, get the retailers what they need, and then we go about our day.
Mm-hmm.
Orders come in throughout the day. Whoever's around, we pick them, and we try and we always have like a cycle of like you'll write the orders, you'll pick the orders, and you'll bill the orders, and it always gets kind of mixed.
Yeah.
And that's what happens because you have so many things going on. Who are you speaking to at 10 o'clock? Who's the next Zoom call with?
Uh-huh.
Because we have other brands that they're running with, or so many brands that we're running with. You have calls with them all the time.
Right.
What's new? What's coming up? And constantly planning for the next release, as well as making sure that we're getting eyes on the content that we already have.
Uh-huh.
Because there are classic pieces. The Optimas sell every day. And the Black Optima has been out forever.
Mm-hmm.
And Black Optima or Black 88, but they're classic pens. So you want to make sure that those don't get thrown to the wayside. And it's just like, all right, well, those are done 20 years ago, let them sell.
Yeah.
So we always are reminding each other of the things that we have that we need to keep people in mind of.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a busy day. It sounds like everybody works really well together, and they all kind of play a part of a larger role. So you mentioned Fountain Pen Day, and I'm curious how Kenro celebrates that as a company, or how others celebrate that.
Okay. That's a shorter story. It's easy. When I went with Kenro, obviously, my friendship with the community itself was really important. So they are completely separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fountain Pen Day is not for making money. It was more for me to be the keeper of the gate, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
so that nobody else has it
Yeah.
and can just take advantage of it. You know, it's just a day for everyone to enjoy and celebrate. It's a great day for the retailers to engage with the community. You know, a lot of the pen stores, the pen clubs will come in and they'll hang out for that during that weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also, and it's just a natural occurrence, turned into a Black Friday for everybody has sales.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a natural, and that's fine because you know what? You're getting the retailers to engage with the end user on a different level. And that's really what we wanted.
Yeah.
You know, we want people writing, we want people doing things that are special and reminding them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's people like, oh, every day is Fountain Pen Day, and every day is Fountain Pen Day. But you need a day to let people highlight it and kind of spread it. And I always told people, you know what, that Friday, it's always the first Friday in November.
Okay.
That Friday, bring a fountain pen to work.
Yeah.
Be the nerd of the office for the day.
Show it off.
Let people know, you know what, this is a thing. You know what, guys, this is a thing for me. It's okay. And engage with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday and Sunday, you can go to your retailer, you can hang out with your friends, you can have the pen meetups that they do worldwide now. Because it's hundreds of retailers. There's a lot of work on the back end with retailers that come and getting their banners up and getting their sales up and the specials up and the pen shows that they try and do. Ohio Pen Show for a long time was on Fountain Pen Day weekend every year. This year it's skipped and it's the week after. Poland writes me every year because Poland celebrates it hard. Poland has a tremendous following, but they have their Independence Day that first Friday in November, so they always do it a week or two after. And they always write me every year very nicely, very cordially. Remember, we're going to put it up, but we're celebrating 2 weeks.
Yes.
And so it's a thing where people really feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. So with Kenro, keeping it separate from them, we do and we don't. So obviously with Estabrook and Kenro, we do something special every year. You know, I mean, it's what brought Brian and I together,
Mm-hmm.
you know, ultimately. And it's what brought me there. And, you know, so we collaborate now, and that's what we do. So like Estabrook last year collaborated, we gave away washi tape. It was custom done, and it was Estabrook and Fountain Pen Day.
Very nice.
And it's not to say that that collaboration type of thing doesn't happen elsewhere. You know, there are other collaborations. I've worked with pen makers. I've worked with Sean Newton, Franklin Christoph, Van Ness Pen Company, you know, many of them to do collaboration. So it's not that, it's just that we're in the same office. You know, literally he's on the other side of the wall, so we're throwing stuff over the wall at each other during the day sometimes. That's truth.
Not the fountain pens.
Not fountain pens. It's usually Skittles or hard candy or stuff like that, you know. But because I have that opportunity, and of course it has become such, you know, and I'm thrilled about it. I don't want to take credit for it. I understand the dynamic of it, but I'm not. When I did, look at this way quickly. When I did videos, like when I did review videos for Fountain Pen Day, I never put my face there because they never wanted somebody to say that Cary just wants the fame for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never put my name out there and said, "Oh, Cary's." It was always us. It was we, even if it was just me, and because I wanted it just to be ours. Do you know what I mean? The community to be ours. So that being said, so when I do something with Estabrook, it's just a fantastic opportunity where I have a company that I work for that wants to engage in that. So if they want to go full force, I want them to go full force.
Yeah.
And it gets shipped worldwide, already shipping to retailers everywhere. So it's a great marriage. But again, it's not to say, I never want somebody to say, well, he works there, so if it's that, it's only for them, and it's not for them, it's for everybody. And everyone that has that opportunity, they go to the website, they check the email, and they go.
Yeah.
And they talk to me, and let's figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
the fountain pen community is just ever evolving, it sounds like, and I think National Fountain Pen Day and all the events just are a great way to bring everybody together. My last question for you though is, I want to hear the craziest pen story that you have.
okay. So the craziest one, I would say, for me personally, would be like the adventure of one pen that I have, and it's a pen that I will obviously never get rid of. You'll understand why. So there was a time when you could order sailor pens online, and there was a company that had one in Japan, and it was a Sailor Pro Gear. It was just plain black, but the nib on it was Nagahara Togi with the overlay on top of it, the overfeed, sorry. And it's just like a little tab that sits on top, and it just helps the ink flow, and it looks really cool. But it's also a Nagahara Togi nib, which means that the higher the angle, the cross stroke, the thinner the line, the lower your angle, the wider the line.
Okay.
And it's to help when you write like kanji, or as well as Arabic and Hebrew and things like that. So either way, it was really cool. So I wanted it, and I remember I got the pen, and so I had this pen, really special nib, and I always wondered who made the nib, because Nagahara-san, the father, had passed away in 2016, and he was somebody who was an artisan, but his son had taken the reins, if you will, of learning the skill set and grinding and learning how to do the things that his father had done, which were profound in the fountain pen writing community. That being said, next part of the story is, so I had this pen, and I remember I was in Atlanta, and I showed it to Michael Masayama, and he was like, oh, it's really cool, it's really nice, I like that, blah, blah, blah. At the time, same pen, Michael had a friend of his who was practicing Urushi work, like we saw on this Montegrappa, the Urushi and Rodden work and things like that. And he said, he's looking for pens to practice on. Do you want him? You could keep the nib unit and let him practice on it. And it was like $160 to let this guy do this kind of Urushi work, because he wanted to practice without the expectations that it's got to be perfect. Whatever. So like 6 months later, and there was like 4 or 5 of us that gave him pens to do this. So 4 or 5 months later, the pen comes back, looked great. I mean, it was beautiful. I had this pen now, and I'm like, wow, it's got all this custom Rodden and Urushi done to it, and it's got this really cool nib. So that made it even more special. So the caveat to the whole thing is, I'm at the Long Island Pen Show, and there's a gentleman called Paul Arano. Paul Arano's been around for a very long time, very important community. He has his own magazine that he puts out, the Fountain Pen Journal. But he also, like me, wanted to do something a little different and in the community. Now, he's been around far longer than I have, and they started a group called the Black Pen Society. And at the time, it was like the boys' club, because they used to have pen meets or pen shows. Literally, were in they would get a hotel suite, and just a bunch of guys would just show up with their pens.
Bring their pens.
And they would just trade pens. And then it moved down to the lobby, and then from the lobby to let's rent the whole hall. So that's how that started. So to get into the Black Pen Society, it's just like Fountain Pen Day. It's like, oh, how do I become a sponsor and celebrate? Ask. Okay. So how do you get into the Black Pen Society? You find Paul Arano, and you say, I like black pens. And he's going to say, why do you like black pens? And it's just kind of like, it's just a play. It's just, but it is serious, because he wants you to be a part of it. And you give him $5, and you get a pin, a little enamel pin into his Black Pen Society, and he's got a pin for every year that they've been doing it. So I used that pen, and I went up to him at the Long Island Pen Show in 2017. I guess it was 17. And I was like, all right, Paul, how do I get into the Black Pen Society? And he leaned back in his chair, like he does, and anyone who knows him knows this. Wow, you have a black pen? Yeah. You like black pens? Yeah. What do you like about black pens? And it just was a conversation. I'm trying not to laugh, because he keeps such a serious face, even though he's not, he's so casual and so good. I mean, he literally has a hat that he wears with the horns, from the Honeymooners thing. And they have a big meetup in DC every year. So that pen was what I used with Paul Arano to get myself into the Black Pen Society. So the craziest story about a pen is this pen that I got that had this special nib that became special on the body from another friend in the community that became even more special from another friend in the community with the Black Pen Society. And I found out 2 years ago, here's the end of this long story, sorry, but I took the pen to San Francisco, and Nagahara's son was at that show. He actually flew in from Japan and was grinding nibs at the show, and I was able to give him the pen and ask him if it was his father that did it or him. And he looked at it for probably a minute. you know, and I guess he's just looking at the angles, and he was like, I did this one. And which was fine. I mean, I was just like, I wanted something from that his father had done, simply because of whatever. But I wasn't disappointed, but at least I knew. So it's like, now I know all the pedigree of this pen, as well as I've made its own history. So,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like what it's about, you know?
You took all the different pieces and made it
Right.
into a way more elaborate story than just the
Right.
piece that you had originally purchased.
Right. Yeah, I picked up a pen. I have a black pen. And this black pen, I can convert to a 15 to 20 minute story at any given moment.
It's a history.
So it's got such history, and it's 5 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's awesome.
that's the story.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. We have appreciated having you here this weekend with us. Stay tuned for some more of our events that are coming up here at the Truphae store later this fall.
Thank you.